Hello, Patreon friends, and welcome to Last Call of Cthulhu. This is the after show for episode 17.
Sorry.
All sorts of crazy stuff happened this episode. We had a ritual that went tragically correctly.
Yeah.
We had
It was worth spending that luck.
we had the reveal that Nick's. So Nick and I, when he came to me and said that Eugene probably needed to step away for a while, we came up with the idea of having one of the Children of Fear plant themselves in the party to make sure that the ritual, and so I told Nick, just all you care about is that ritual happens. And he did. The funny thing is, he kept fooling me because you'd do this thing where you'd be like, well, I'm not going to get involved in the ritual. And I was like,
I didn't want to seem like I was being too easy or too eager. I wanted to seem like I'm a regular person who's like kind of skeptical and then be like, oh no, I see this. Okay, I'm with you guys now.
You slow played it.
Yeah.
And I had to remind myself, I'm like, if anybody here knows what they're doing, Nick knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Before we started, they're all rolling their skills, the character advancement in there. Before we got started, Julie actually had a question about the karma and about how that played out and everything. And so it's one of the mechanics of the game where there are points in the game where it'll say, if they do this, they get positive karma. If they don't, it gets negative. But then it's also there's sort of a, not a list, but there's like a sort of a freewheeling description of times you can take karma away, times you can give them negative karma, times you can give them positive karma, that sort of thing. And then based on where you are in the karma standings at that time, you perceive the city differently, and you perceive the kings of Shambhala differently. Which I really like that dichotomy.
So what are the actual numbers?
I mean, well, no, here's a real question. Was pulling Helen in, did that really...
That did not help.
Yeah.
That did not help.
Would I have gone to the good place if I hadn't done that?
Probably.
Stupid self-preservation.
You actually had the most karma overall, Eugene.
Good and bad?
Yes. Yeah, you were... you were +1 until you pulled Helen, and that brought you to 0. Dimitri led the league. Well, actually, Tiger led the league with 2 positive and no negative.
Yeah. Wow.
But Dimitri was second with a +1, 3 positive, 2 negative. Gwendolyn was exactly 0. It had 1 positive, 1 negative. And Julie, Helen, I need the names up there for this apparently. Helen had 1 positive and 2 negative. So
it was all very...
Yeah, it was very small, very, very small sample size, as the statisticians would say. She puts the names back up there.
Of course.
I love you some Alondra.
Right, and then but how we she's based on stealing things or not stealing things or doing this or doing that or killing somebody, then we get the karma.
That's right, and so that.
Well, at least I had one. At least I had one good.
You got one good one in there, yeah. So this chapter did a really neat thing with the ritual, where it echoed the original ritual in many ways. Both mechanically and sort of through the ritual side of it, but it then layered onto that and added all sorts of insanity to it, so the sort of the steps that you went through when you drank the tea. So you made the roll.
That's crazy with Franklin.
Yeah, I know that was
just perfect.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But the dice tell the story.
What would have happened if he hadn't made it?
He would have been tripping balls.
Yeah, he would have.
Would he have forgotten that he was a child of fear and just?
No, as soon as the other children showed up, he would have. He would have been shown he was playing the whole time. But at the time, he would have been like, "Ooh, I see Tenzin too." But
that kidder.
And I mean, you sort of were doing that anyway with your kind of looking at Dimitri and doing that. You were still very focused on that sort of thing.
So I actually have a question.
Uh-huh.
Did the scroll get traded out at the monastery? Were we handed the wrong ritual?
You were handed, and the Children of Fear had altered those to give. This was all. So the 3 Children of Fear are the only manifestations of the King of Fear that are on the physical plane, and so they're his agents, and they are mortals. So at some point, Frank ate the brain of a previous Child of Fear and became a Child of Fear.
characters.
Yeah, I know. Nick's got a thing with brain eating.
And so then I gave it to him too. Oh my gosh.
There's 3.7 children of fear left.
That's true. Eugene is, he's an adjunct.
The trick to defeating them, the trick is to just have a little bit of restraint.
So if we kill Eugene, there's only 3 children of fear.
So when you drank the tea, that was to make you hallucinate.
Okay.
But there was also a point when the chanting started. The chanting was actually a spell that would compel whoever was going to do the ritual to physically do it. And so that was the roll that you failed, that opposed POW roll.
Which is so, I built Gwendolyn to be high POW. I have 75 POW. It's not insignificant and still...
And so the game actually goes through what happens if the ritual doesn't happen. What happens if, what if the players try to grab the indestructible drop, and keep it from going to the Children of Fear, that sort of thing. It gives you some ideas, but what I like about it is it doesn't say, if this happens, this happens. It just says, here's some things you might do. So it gives you some ideas, but it lets you kind of go with the story you're telling. And so you failed that roll to not to play act the thing, and so you started to go through it and do it. If you had made that roll, then probably Frank would have gotten more involved.
Yeah.
But
And then it might have come down to something. I don't know.
Who knows what would have happened.
And I just thought I was seeing what I'm supposed to see.
That's
I was
right.
like,
Yeah.
yes, we are doing this, right?
Yeah, and you saw her as the goddess,
Right,
So you were like, okay, yeah. And you of course thought you all saw the play acting which was going on, and I love that even as he's being sliced open, Tenzin is still giving the directions because he's part of this. And actually, when he dies, when his head he's realized what's happened, and he just keeps mouthing no. Not that it helps much.
I'm kind of surprised that we didn't try to read his lips or something.
There was a lot going on.
Yeah, it was
It was also I hadn't thought about the early on you were I sort of made up the whole and you'll probably be the servants of the goddess, but then I was like, oh, but crap, but they show up. And so, and then I was like, oh wait, only 2 of them show up. One of them's already here, so I had to remember to and I wanted that to be a good moment of the reveal of Frank pulling off.
Jinkies.
On the robes.
I definitely, until the whole end, I didn't realize that he was one of them. I thought that he was compelled.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
exactly. I did too. I was thinking,
against
oh wow,
his will.
they needed. Some other people came.
Trust all along.
So did I make the right choice by not having Eugene show up to try to stop it? I guess
Yeah,
is the
actually.
question.
So when Nick and I were talking about this, we were like, when do we want Eugene to stop the ritual? Nick thought it was funnier to have Eugene show up too late.
Yeah, yeah.
And kind of fitting with Eugene. But what do you guys think? Would it have been more dramatic to?
Oh no, I thought it was perfect that he came after when we were like, wait, we just finished.
Did he come before the drop turned into a key? I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that was the definite I didn't trust Eugene. I trusted Frank implicitly.
I didn't trust him implicitly.
Frank
because he
spins
didn't know
luck,
enough.
man.
Yeah, Frank did things that were helpful to people. You suckers.
I mean, he was taking notes. He was doing all that stuff. It was good.
And he ate his last crew.
Yeah, that's right. He had because when you got there were tents for several people.
It wasn't the ukulele. Everyone always suspects the ukulele. Nope, he's a cannibal.
among various evil, horrible things he does.
Wow.
You have not seen the last of Franklin. Don't call him Frank. He hates that.
Okay.
Then we're gonna call
We'll
him.
call him forever, obviously.
Totally.
I do have to just stick in because this is a thing that has come up in chat multiple times, is that the actual historical figure's first name is Francis.
Yep.
It's Francis. And the fact that you guys keep insisting on calling him Franklin, I just giggle at because I'm like, obviously this is an alternate universe
That's right.
version
Yep.
because the guy's not really the guy.
Yeah.
Which I picked up on early enough.
No,
because
wait,
I
what?
know
No,
how
in the real world, this all happened, right?
Oh, did we not warn you that this was the alternate universe? Anyway, that's my intrusion for the night. I'll go back to my corner now. Bye.
Someone's gonna tell me Cthulhu isn't even real.
No.
I mean,
So one of the fun, like, if you had not done the ritual, probably we would have either decided that was the end of the module, or we would have Back to the Future 2'd it, where in a year, Tenzin would have found all of you and been like, we have to go back. Which, could have been fun as well. Because what I would have done is I would have done my usual ending of like, so a year's passed. What's your life like?
Yeah.
And
then
after that was all
walks
done,
into
like,
it.
here comes Tenzin, like,
Oh.
Marty. So I was gonna let it, whatever happened happen. I kind of preferred that it was successful and we'd do that.
Yeah.
But I thought this was great as well. It had a neat kind of symmetry to it.
Are there really unicorns in my version of
Yeah.
heaven? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Oh man, I got to get to that version.
I think it's once you know it's frozen, right? Because all your actions are disingenuous. Isn't that how that works?
Oh man.
So no, you can always change your karma.
Oh.
Karma is an active. You can do good at any time.
I mean, most people don't ever get to see Shambhala before they die,
Yeah.
so we get kind of special circumstances on that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the whole, like, everyone experienced, like, your experience with those the three kings is different depending on where you are and how they treat you and that sort of thing. Is a neat sort of thing. And then poor Mortimer, man, you guys really didn't treat poor Mortimer well.
Well, and it's like, it's kind of funny. because-
Adjunct professor.
Who's
Gwendolyn has no respect for adjunct professors.
And this is the danger of not having a GM screen, right? Because I was like, let's just go get on this train and we'll get to where we're gonna go. And I'm like, there's a map of this place.
There's
You can see the map.
There's a map, and there is an NPC photo of this dude who's been showing us
There
around.
was also just they wouldn't just drop us somewhere, but I didn't want to get all.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not an archaeologist.
But we also had the paper that said
Yeah.
we were at jars and all this kind of stuff. So we
I
had,
was just waiting for words to match up. Oh, yep, okay, right there.
It's like a video game where the words are in bold and you're like, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was just like, it's video game rules. We're supposed to do something here, but I did want to know where here was.
Yeah,
I love that you were asking, like, I want you to just go around asking people what year it is and see what their response is.
So here's the story. In Wisconsin, the ATM network there was called Time, TYME. So they're time machines, right?
Oh.
And I went to school in Chicago, and so I drove down Chicago one day, and I needed cash. And I was frantically running around asking people if they knew where a time machine was. Because I was like, I need cash right now before I go to class and all this other stuff. And so I was frantic. And I'm like, I need a time machine. Have you seen a time machine?
Oh man.
And it literally wasn't until like 4 or 5 people after I realized, oh. Does anyone know where there's an ATM? But yeah.
The time machine. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was running around asking for a time machine.
That's wonderful.
That's epic.
Man, we should. That should be.
Can't
we should
beat
just.
that.
We need a show on our network just called. So here's the story.
So no shit, there I was.
Yeah.
Will
a
the
good
show
title,
ever
too.
end?
No.
Oh no, that's ripped directly from SCA War Stories. All the good ones start with "So no shit, there I was."
or we could just call it But I Digress.
Oh, yes.
Digressions and side quests.
Speaking of that, it's time to go home.
All right.
Yes.
Patreon friends, thank you for all you do for Quests and Chaos. It is amazing. You're all well above average, I'm
We
guessing.
appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes.
But, maybe not all of you, but most of you.
Every single one of
now.
you
You know what?
out
You're
there
all exceptional.
are fantastic.
But that means none of you are exceptional, according to Ayn Rand. Good night, Patreon friends.
Yeah, well.
There are definitely 3 layers of Patreon, and you're all appreciated. So thank you.
That's right. 3 levels of hell. That's right.
Well.